Mother's Day, a day that evokes the joy of the precious, caring relationship of a mother and child. Today, all of us who've had mothers or been mothers are given the opportunity to give thanks. But because mothering involves love, it can't be protected from pain and grief. We also recognize that today is a day of sadness for many because their experience of motherhood has been filled with trials and tribulations. Others have lost children they held so dear. Still others mourn because the chance to be a mother was denied them. This mix of joy and pain is what our gospel story speaks to today. Motherhood, a mixture of joy and pain. There's Mary's wonder and joy. Old Simeon first declares this child to be God's salvation to all people. God's light made manifest, and Mary's stomach flutters with joy. Her skin is covered with goosebumps. Oh, the great delight of these days. She loves her baby, and like any other mother, she loves those who love him too. And this old man's prophecy fits perfectly with the word still leaping in her heart from the angel Gabriel and Elizabeth and Zechariah and the shepherds. Mary reaches then to take her baby back. Oh, another amazing word. But the old man tightens his grip and does not release the baby Jesus. His brows drop like thunder clouds. Mary grows tense. The baby's eyes switch back and forth from Simeon to his mother. Suddenly staring straight back at her, the man speaks. His voice is not peaceful. It shudders and cracks like the prophets of old. This child shall be a stone destined to cause the falling and rising of many in Israel. Tragedy is now in Simeon's eyes. He stares down at Mary, the mother. Then he raises the child high and says, "This child will be a sign that will be spoken against, a sign that will be despised, but a sign that is God among them." And as he lowers the child back into Mary's arms, he looks her deep into the eyes, his heart heavy with sorrow, and he says to her, "Dear woman, a sword will pierce your own soul too." I guess old Simeon knew a thing or two about motherhood. Joy and pain, hope and suffering, the deepest love and the most anguished sadness. The joy and wonder that Mary feels when Simeon talks about Jesus being the light of the world is then immediately paired with the fact that her son will be rejected and despised, and that will be like a dagger to her heart. This is what happens in life, though, isn't it? Good and bad, joy and sorrow, they're mixed together. Most days are just pretty ugly. Pretty and ugly, right? Moments filled with sacrificial love, generous forgiveness, beautiful, pretty moments. And then other moments where our fallen humanity shows its creepy, ugly head. Simeon says to Mary, he says to all parents here today, there will be tears, there will be laughter, there will be joy, there will be pain. I grew up playing Little League baseball, and I will never forget those baseball moms. There was always that crucial moment in the game, last inning, down by a run, when little Johnny was in the on-deck circle coming to bat. And Mom was convinced that in that moment, with the game on the line, her nervous son didn't need instructions from the coach. He didn't need to be watching the pitcher. What he needed in that moment was his mother. So Mom would make her way down to the bleachers until she was pressed up against the chain link fence, right behind the batter's box. "Son, that kid's got nothing left in the tank. Keep your eye on the ball. Don't back down. You can do it. I love you. And if by skill or mere luck the baby boy made contact and the game-winning run scored, oh my, the hooping and hollering. Sometimes they couldn't say a word because of the huge lump in their throat. I hope and pray every mom here enjoys or has enjoyed such a heartwarming, crowd-pleasing moment where you can lift your head and say, that is my boy, and I'm his mom. That is my daughter, and I'm her mom. Mary had such a moment at the wedding of Cana. After Jesus had changed the water into wine at Mother's beckoning, and the host said, whoa, he took a drink. Everybody I know begins with their finest wines, and after that begins with their brings in the cheap stuff, but you've saved the best till now. And the crowd cheers, and Mary whispers through a smile, that's my boy, and I'm his mom. But with joy comes sorrow. How I wish every young family could hear the words of Simeon that he spoke over young Mary and Joseph this day that they dedicated Jesus. How easy it would be for Mary to believe that raising the Son of God was going to be filled with glowing royal colors and glory and majesty. That life would be as perfect and glossy as a Hallmark card. But Simeon says there will also be some somber colors. There will be suffering and rejection. You will know joy, but trouble as well. Why do I wish every family could hear Simeon's words? Because I'm convinced that what messes our life up the most is the unrealistic expectations of what our life is supposed to look like. Perfect mother, perfect kid, perfect family. But motherhood, life, love, let me tell you, it will pierce your soul. If you're aiming for perfection, good luck. Your child's troubles are going to feel like your failures. If you're aiming for perfection, your child's troubles are going to feel like your failures. But if you've embraced true motherhood, you know life is joy and pain. It can be heartwarming, but there can be days that it's soul-piercing. Yes, there will be proud mama moments, but there will be times that you will lock the bathroom door, turn on the water so no one hears you crying because everything is falling apart. There will be times that you just want to run away from it all. There will be that phone call from the school or a friend's mom, and you'll stand there listening to the whole embarrassing thing that involved your child, and you will hang up the phone and hang your head from the shock of it all. There will be nights that you will go to bed feeling like the bad guy because you were the only one who had the courage enough to say no. There will be mornings when you told yourself, keep calm, take the fits with a grain of salt. Instead, you have your own meltdown that ends up being a little bit more theatrical than theirs. In those moments, remember Mary? 3.5 years after that proud mama moment at the wedding in Cana, we find her crumpled at her son's feet. Where else would she be? She used to check him for fevers. She bandaged his cut fingers, washed his cloak. And now a flood of tears at the foot of her son's cross is all that remains of a loving mother's pierced soul. But she's there. The pain that racks Jesus' body, you know, breaks her heart. Yet she surrendered her son to the cross, surrendered him to the darkness, surrendered him to the tomb, but ultimately she entrusted her son to God, his Father. That's what she did in today's story. She was at the temple dedicating baby Jesus back to his Father. At the cross, she was doing what she did ever since that angel came announcing that she would give birth to the Son of God. She was surrendering, entrusting her Son back to the Father to whom he belonged to first, who loved him first, surrendering her child back to God. Mary had faith, so she entrusted her Son to the light, the glory, and the power of God. The God who raised Jesus from the dead, the God whose glory overwhelmed death, the God who turned the worst humanity could do into the best he could do by raising Jesus from the dead. Mom, even in the darkest hour, don't lose faith. Don't give up. I'm not a parenting expert, and I am not perfect, but I'm learning the secret to all this parenting thing, and it really comes down to this: don't give up. Don't give up. Don't lose faith. Moms, you were made to have faith. I don't want to imagine a world where even mothers lose faith. You have faith to believe that somehow, some way, against all odds, that baby's going to be potty trained before kindergarten. I had my doubts. You have faith to believe that know-it-all, smart-mouthed teenager will one day become a responsible citizen with a baby on the hip and a tender heart. You have faith to believe that. You have faith to believe that the kid who can never find his shoes or matching socks will one day find a job. You have that kind of faith. Mom, like Mary, daily surrender your child into the hands of the living God for whom nothing is impossible. When no one else believes, when everyone else has thrown up their hands and declared there's no hope, why even try? You know better. You know that a bowed head and a whispered prayer moves the heavens and the earth. I dare say many are here even today because a mother or grandmother dared to pray. When everyone else had given hope, she was still on her knees, believing God for you. You know, Mom, that a mother's tears stir the heart of Jesus like very few things else on this planet. The same Jesus who looked over his own rebellious children and said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how I have often ached to embrace you the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you wouldn't let me. You wouldn't let me." Jesus knows the aching heart. He knows about rebellious kids. You wouldn't let me. Moms, don't lose faith. Don't give up. Keep believing. Keep trusting in the God who raises the dead. All the sacrifice will be worth it in the end. Because in the end, you'll end up looking a lot more like Jesus, who came not to be served, but to serve and give his life. Christian author Ann Voskamp reminds us something very interesting about mother ducks. She says, mother ducks pick feathers from their own chest to line their nest. Can you say it? Can you see that? Mother duck plunging her beak deep into her chest. That's how she lines her nest. Not with leftovers, not with scraps lying around. That simply won't do. But she personally, painfully plucks feathers from her own chest to line her nest. I've thought about those mother ducks this week. When children peck and scratch and squawk. Mom, can you help me? Mom, will you make this work? Mom, pluck, pluck, pluck. Sacrificing time, sacrificing sleep, sacrificing comfort, sacrificing money to make a house into a home. It's your sacrifice, Mom, that soothes and settles a home And when the nest wears thin, may God keep giving you the grace to pluck, pluck, pluck. Nests need fresh feathers. Fresh feathers warm with a mother's life, a mother's love. Think about those mother ducks later on this week. When the flowers of today begin to fade and lunches have to be made, laundry has to be folded, maybe an adult child needs help paying the electric bill. Pluck, 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 making a house into a home with sacrifice. Remember Jesus, who willingly laid down his life for his children, who plucked hard from his own heart, a staggering sacrifice for love of his very own. Abide in that love. Abide in that love, moms, and you'll be able to give that love. And now, Mom, thank you. Thank you, moms. Mom, thank you for our beginnings and your perseverance. Thank you for somehow putting up with us when we put you down. Thank you for picking yourself up, wiping away your own tears, and always opening the bathroom door again. Thank you for not running away, but enduring. Thank you for believing that we were worth fighting for. Thank you for remaining our biggest fan, even when we struck out. Thank you because even after you received that embarrassing phone call, you picked your head back up. You didn't condone our behavior. You didn't condemn us, but you forgave us. You trusted that the Holy Spirit could bring good out of evil, healing out of suffering, peace out of disorder, resurrection out of what it must felt like a painful, shaming crucifixion. Mom, thank you for believing there was something sacred in us. Thank you for standing by our side when there wasn't a whole lot worth standing for. Thank you for every prayer you prayed for us. Battles were won, deliverances were wrought. We were changed because you dared to pray. Thank you for pointing us to Jesus, for encouraging us to take the narrow, less traveled road that leads to eternal life. Thank you for remembering that we are first and foremost God's child, that God loved us even before you did, and that God will continue to love us even after you're gone. Thank you for entrusting us into God's everlasting arms. And most of all, thank you for being you. Happy Mother's Day.